3, 2, 1, go. And we're live. This is Retraice, segment number 102 for Saturday. I was 4 seconds late. I was working on something, and I've never been 4 seconds late since we started doing it this way. Saturday, December 31st, 2022, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific. Retrace is about what's going on out there. The short answer to that is computer control. The long answer to that, we do that sometimes, not all the time. Retrace is for outsiders. That's important to remember. You're not going to be able to make sense of what we're doing in 2023 if you don't understand that Retrace is for outsiders. And I just want to make sure that everything's in place here because I'm a bit flustered. I'm not exactly firing on all I'm firing on all cylinders. I just tried to do too much. I'll show you. You want to see what I was working on? Okay, so let's switch here. At the last minute, no, yes. What you're looking at on the left-hand side is just a calendar. It's December 31st. Happy New Year, everybody. On the right-hand side, we have two clocks, two little shell scripts. One is counting down until the first second of January 1st, 2042, and one is counting down to the first second of January 1st, 2029. Why those times? Now, I wasn't scrambling to put these together. I worked on this. We'll talk about the clocks in a second. I spent 5 hours trying to find a good command line clock countdown timer that did this. I don't want to use one of these websites that has a million ads everywhere, blah, 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 blah. I spent 4 hours trying to find one, and then 1 hour trying to tweak and build my own. Anyway, at the last minute, I wasn't originally going to show you these clocks, but at the last minute I decided, no, I've got good enough here. So I can't vouch for the leap year accuracy of these clocks, but I'm pretty sure that they're right there. But anyway, they're pretty darn accurate. They're pretty close. If they might be off by 6 hours because or they might be off by, I don't know. But 6 years is definitely accurate, and 9 hours and all that stuff. Why 2042? Why 2029? If you're into AI, or you just participate in popular culture, you'll be aware of Ray Kurzweil. And Ray Kurzweil wrote I guess he published in 2005, but by the time of The Singularity is Near, he had published 3 books on basically the same topic already. Age of Intelligent Machines, Spiritual Machines, and maybe there was one other one, but maybe Singularity was the third one, not the fourth. But anyway, the two big dates in Singularity is Near 2005, and his new Singularity is Nearer is coming out soon-ish, the next year, 18 months, whatever. Books are hard to publish and hard to schedule. In the original, though, it was 2042 is the Singularity, the point beyond which we can't really see what happens. It's like a black hole. It's not that nothing happens. It's not that it's not comprehensible what happens. It's just we can't see it until we get much closer, if not get there ourselves. And he's talking about sort of an analog to black holes or singularities in physics that is going to happen because of technology, because of human technology being built on Earth in our lifetimes. Okay, it was a sensational way of thinking even before the Singularity is Near book. He was doing this sort of stuff in the 90s, at least. Maybe was the first one in 89? I don't know. It was that time period. And he's not the only person who thinks this way. There are other singularitarians or singularitarians, people who have talked about it. I can't remember. It wasn't Minsky. It was Vinge, Werner Vinge or Vinge, I think was the first one. But I don't know. I'm not a historian of the idea. Anyway, it's a sensational topic, and it's this, it comes with all of these attendant sort of wow things, like, maybe, you can live indefinitely. We can cure everything. We can copy ourselves. We can upload ourselves. We can solve every, it's that sort of, I'm sure you've heard of it, so I won't go into it. But anyway, the date he gave in Singularity is Near is 2045, but he gives 2029 for this sort of strong passing of the Turing test for computer-based machines, or, machines that are controlled by computers. The Turing test is basically I don't want to explain the Turing test. Go Google it. 2029 is still the date that he gives. So he was recently on Lex Friedman's podcast. Excellent podcast, by the way, if you're not aware of this. Excellent. He was recently on Lex Friedman, a few months ago, I think. I just finished listening to it today. And he still stands by 2029, where we'll basically have artificial intelligence-based machines that you can talk to them for hours, even if you're an AI expert and you can't tell whether it's whether it's a machine or a human. I think I've stated his Turing test, Kurzweil's tough Turing test, accurately enough in that phrase. And then 2045 has become 2042. I don't know. Like, I don't keep up with what Kurzweil's saying, but I think he moved it to 2042 after the 2005 book. The real big time, change, and it's based on the exponential growth of technology and the law of accelerating returns and all these things that he goes into that I'm not going to go into. But anyway, we have clocks. Why do we need clocks? It's the end of 2022, and we have big plans for 2023. But I've always wanted a good countdown clock to keep in perspective just some idea of what might be coming. Now, to say, oh, check it out, dude, I know exactly what year the machines are going to be able to, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between talking to a machine and talking to a human, 2029. And I know exactly what year that everything's going to just hockey stick up into the universe and all this. No, it's like Kurzweil has done a fantastic service to humanity by attempting in an engineering mindset sort of way, as an engineer and an inventor and a businessman to boot, by putting all this stuff into words and talks and then into well-argued books and taking all the crap from everybody, all the player haters who are like, man, you're not going to bring back your dead dad. He's already kind of done some version of it by putting all of his dad's writings into a computer program, and then that's queryable. And he talks about it on Lex Friedman. Go listen to it. Go listen to Lex Friedman. You should always listen to him. That's what we're gonna. Okay, so he's given us this. He's given us the ability to actually think about the possibilities of technology. I mean, and you don't need to agree with. Sam Harris called him a carnival barker. Like he said, he gave him one redeeming. He said sometimes he's a visionary and sometimes he's a carnival barker or something like that. I don't think the carnival barker. I think there are certainly things that I see coming from Ray Kurzweil where I'm like, but he's not bullshitting. He's not full of shit. He might be way too optimistic. I hope he's not. I want to be optimistic like that. For all the reasons that we've talked about learning AI in Re63, I think it was. Anyway, putting things on the calendar changes the way you think. Putting things on the calendar changes the way you think. So, for example, I wanted to get to 100 segments for Retraice by the end of this year. What segment are we at? Didn't you notice? Okay. And there are other funny things that happen with calendars, like if you set goals beyond December 31st, they tend to seem much further away and then sneak up on you. Like if you set a goal for January 5th, that's stupid. I don't remember where I read this, but it's stupid. You should set your goals within the calendar year that you're in, and then only secondary or bigger, moonshot goals should go beyond that. That's just my 2 cents. Okay. What do these clocks say? 6 years until the Turing test machines are really good, and 19 years until maybe the singularity. Okay. I mean, anybody who says they're not anybody in AI or in technology or in futurism or podcasting about such things who doesn't acknowledge that this stuff is in the back of their minds is bullshitting you. It is totally in and if they make, I was not going to talk about all this. I don't know why I'm talking about all this, but I have to. If they sort of give the impression that they sort of they argue against it, or they take up a position that's sort of critical, like Kevin Kelly. It's like what I've heard from him is he's the longtime publisher of Wired and really a thoughtful, smart guy. Definitely, you should listen to Kevin Kelly. Or Bill Joy. I don't remember what he says about. He's a Java creator and investor now. These guys sort of like and even Yudkowsky, Eliezer Yudkowsky reacts sort of, but in a different way. Yudkowsky is like, no, the intelligence explosion is going to happen way This is not going to go down the way you think, Ray Kurzweil. In Intelligence Explosion Microeconomics, he talks about having a conversation with Ray Kurzweil and saying, do you really think that it's this simple, that we're not, that somehow we're going to be okay when these machines are this powerful, something like that. It's been a while since I read it. Anyway, people who take up positions against the visionary in any context are doing sort of an economic task. They're, first of all, they have to get your attention, just like I do, just like everybody does. If you're in the attention economy, if you're producing knowledge work that doesn't lead directly to basically engineering projects, you're trying to get the ear of the world, right? So if someone says some wild and crazy stuff like Kurzweil likes to do, then the people who take up positions against him are reactions to that, and you should factor that in. There would be no reaction from these people if he hadn't said the thing. Okay, so all we're doing is, I think he's going to be remembered as a visionary if things don't go terribly wrong and humanity is destroyed because we weren't pessimistic or careful enough. I think he'll be remembered as getting a lot of stuff right. Maybe not the timeline's right, but maybe the timeline's right. I don't know. He's not throwing darts at the calendar. He's got a method to his madness. Okay. Anyway, that's why I was 5 seconds late to today's segment. All right, let's get down to business. Oh, and also, I mean, it's just the end of the year, and this is going to inform what we talk about today. Why are we doing AI? Why are you doing it? You're doing it for reasons I'm not doing it, or maybe you're not doing it at all. You just want to hear about doing it. There are lots of good reasons to be thinking about, learning, talking about AI, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of them stem from visionary ideas that started more or less with Ray Kurzweil. Are we going to get to the notes, or are we just going to keep winging it? Where? Okay, Re101 is... No, this is 102. We're at 102. There we go. Well, why do I have 101 open? I don't need that open. That's over. That's yesterday's news. It's almost next year. Okay, so I... like, talking about the plans for 2023, I have some sort of... not I, like I'm gonna present them to you, but the crazy in this company extends beyond just yours truly. Don't worry. Okay, so crazy ambition for 2023 and 2024. I'll get to that at the end. But let's start out with just some more thoughts on learning AI in the first place. I'm all over the place. Okay, button push. There we go. More thoughts on learning AI. If you can learn it, it can be learned. This comes from AIMA for you, page 652. I think it's this idea that, and I've been guilty of this too, that machine learning seems kind of fad-y. It's not a fad. It's profoundly important, but like, isn't it just one part of AI? You can make that argument, and I think I've maybe implicitly made that argument on this podcast, but I don't think that I don't agree with that if I did make that argument. This idea that there are all these different aspects to AI as represented by AIMA 4E, the 6 sections. You can never see can you see my 6 sections there? I always add these to important books, giant books, the little marks on the end of the pages, because it helps you just break it up into something manageable. Those 6 sections are not all about learning. Only one of them is about learning. So isn't machine learning just sort of compartmentalized within the bigger picture? No. I think the ML people and many others will tell you, and I think they're right, or at least I haven't found how they're wrong, that if you can learn it, the machines can learn it. So each section of this book we will learn, and we're going to do it in 6 months. We're not going to exhaust the topic, but we're going to learn it. I'm going to be yapping by the end of 6 months about every single thing. If I can do it, machines can do it. I don't think that if I can get into protracted arguments with people, lots of people, about whether, the fact that I'm conscious, and I am, but you will never know that because that's a philosophy problem. You cannot ever know that I'm conscious unless we redefine consciousness, which we probably will, or probably already have. I can get into protracted arguments about whether my consciousness implies that machines can be conscious. Okay, I don't know how. I don't think it's submarine swimming sort of stuff. I think they're going to be conscious in a way that's like submarines not swimming. Being water things but not swimming. You can't really argue at this point that because I can learn, or you can't argue against the idea that because we can learn things, machines can learn things. They're doing it. The machines are already learning way more than we know, not in the same way, and not necessarily completely, surpassing us and being better at everything that they learn, but the machines are definitely learning like crazy. And so the point I just wanted to make is that if we can learn it, they can learn it. So we should definitely take seriously the idea that the future of AI is just, let's figure out what needs to be learned, what do we need to learn to solve a problem, and then let's make the machines do it, no matter where it falls in the Aim of 4E book or anywhere else in life and in art. Okay. Point number 2. Man, we're running out of time. The robots are coming. Death is coming. That's point number 2. This is just, it's okay. So the robots are coming. Terminator, Singularity, sort of stuff. Yeah. Whose robots? What robots? Do we even call them robots when they're mostly software based? But it's just you get the idea. Like we can't act. We live in a time where we cannot act like we have forever to do whatever we're doing. This world is not going to look the way it looks today, 20 years from now. It is, I don't know what it's going to look like. And maybe 20 should be 40 or something, but it's not 400. Okay, this is not the Middle Ages. This is not Attic Greece. This is not, Achilles on the shores of, that place in Turkey. and this is crazy. The time that we're living in is nuts, and we need to act with a sense of urgency. To put it mildly, okay. So the robot, and also when I say death is coming, I don't mean like the robots are going to kill us. Maybe they will. I don't know. But I just mean like we have, as grown-ups, we have finite lifetimes, and we need to act like that. I don't know why you need to hear that from me, but I wanted to say it. Okay, next point. What does it mean to be a player? I'm just trying to sort of zero in on this idea. We keep talking about, when we where's the thing? Outsiders are not players. Computer control is a player-oriented game, so we're learning to play, that sort of stuff. I'm just trying to get an idea of it. But like a player could use DALL-E 2, AlphaZero, AlphaCode, and the GPTs. Could put them to good use. Okay, so that's an important thing when we talk about players in the computer control game or in AI. Those we should be able to use those things and do those things. Do what's necessary to use them with facility. Okay, papers to study. I just started to make a list. Like we can't. What I'm getting at here when I'm listing a bunch of stuff to study, and there's way more. Like we talk about the first 6 months being about taking on Aim of 4E. I just haven't found my limit yet. Like I'm going to try and publish more. I'm going to try and do more. When I get to my limit, when I start doing bad work and making mistakes, and maybe you think I'm already there. I don't think I'm there. I know it's not everything's great, but I don't feel like I've reached the limit of what I can do. And then if I can do it, other people can do it. And if I do it and demonstrate one attempt at it, then it'll be easier for the next person who attempts it. So anyway. That's why we're adding more papers and things to study to the list here. This is just the stuff off the top of my head. Stuff that we need to know this stuff if we're going to be players in the AI game, etc. Okay, what are the purposes of learning AI? We already talked about it. It's Retraice segment 63. I shouldn't have clicked that. That was a mistake. We'll do this. No, this, and then we'll go back. Go to Re60. These are like what I imagine people who are not doing exactly what we're doing here. They're learning AI for other reasons, or just studying it, or keeping track of it for other reasons. Life, biology, fear, love, all these 17 reasons. Those are the purposes of learning AI. There's some of them. Okay. What is the purpose of Retraice? Now I have to get into. Okay. So I thought I was going to talk about this on margin one day, but it's just margin is not. I'm going to do more segments on margin, but right now I'm focused on Retraice, and this needs to be said. So Retraice has a mission statement, and it's top secret until today, and it predates the formation of the company, and it's inspired by like the big like Google's mission statement is what was it like. Organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Okay, I don't know when they came up with that, but I think they came up with it after they started. I think in the beginning they were just like, "Hey, let's do this," which is fine. It's fine. But when we had a lot of time to think about, or we felt like we had a lot of time. I don't feel like we had a lot of time now, but we acted as if we had a lot of time to think about the thing, the foundation, the foundation, the backbone of this thing. How are we going to make decisions when we're lost in the contingencies and what's happening, and there are competing interests, all the difficulties of doing business or doing anything, living a life. What's going to be our guiding light? What's our North Star? So our North Star is our mission statement, which I'm pretty much. I mean, I put this to my colleagues. My colleague, she's fine with it. Like she's not sitting around like pondering it, but she's fine with it. But then I put it to our investors, my parents, who are the four of us are the only owners of shares in the company. I don't think any of these people care about this, and I don't blame them. Why would they? It seems so stupid and too big a fish. But it actually matters a lot. It matters a lot to making decisions about the unfolding of Retraice. So here's the mission statement after a long wind-up. Retraice is trying to find the fundamentals that make the future better than the past and make them common knowledge as measured by tests. Find the fundamentals that make the future better than the past and make them common knowledge as measured by tests. It's actually easy for me to say if I'm not looking at that acronym. I built that acronym just because in my notes, internal notes, I'm writing it all the time, and I don't want to write the whole thing. So that's our mission statement. Okay, so what's the purpose of Retraice? That. Before anything else, it's that. What else is? But to do that, we've got to do a lot of things. So let's talk about those things. First, we need to sell value to customers. This company is not sustainable in its current form. We're burning. We're a cheap company. Like we don't spend a lot of money just to exist. As long as you don't count my salary, which there is no salary, and my opportunity cost. It's very cheap to operate this company and keep it going. But we have no customers right now, and we can't have customers because we haven't started paywalling and we haven't started taking ad revenue. Neither one of those makes sense yet. So we don't have any revenue. But ultimately, we have to have revenue. Otherwise, this stops. Okay. Sometimes that's obvious to people, sometimes it's not. I think a lot of people don't spend any time until they reach a certain age thinking about just what are the modern money mechanics. That's a paper. What are the modern money mechanics inside a business as opposed to in a grand economy? And the bottom line being that businesses without customers are not businesses, or they're not long for this world. They're basically attempts to start businesses, but they're not there yet. And you can be not profitable and be a business, but you cannot be a business without customers. Okay, in some sort of taxonomy of that defines the word business. Okay, so first and foremost, we have to sell value to customers. And the next way of thinking about that is to build. In order to create that value, we want to build an economically viable organization for overcoming humanity's weaknesses and trustworthy public communication at scale. And the guiding light for me on this, getting into this detail, is Walter Lippmann's Liberty in the News. He describes the problem in the early, like 1909 or something. It's still exactly the same problem we have today, and it's about what's going on out there, or people, humanity as a whole being able to know what's going on out there. It's a very technical and specific problem with which I concern myself, and I think it definitely needs an engineering solution. Hence, learning AI. Hence, building all these scripts to run the show and keep the quality up, but also be able to produce multiple times a day. But that's my problem. Anyway, I'm putting that on paper just for your reference. And so being a player in the computer control game is prerequisite to these things. Or at least to the economically viable org. And, a good goal is to just sort of put 20,000 hours on the board to become an expert in something. I'm not exactly sure what I'm becoming an expert in, but 20,000 hours of producing Retraice in its current style is going to make me an expert in something. I'm not going I would never, predict that I'll become an expert in AI, but artificial intelligence will be part of what that expertise is. But anyway, so that's what is the purpose of Retraice sort of stuff. So let's try to formally structure our problem, because we've learned to do that. Our AIMA4E has taught us to do that, and we've done it with best first search, and so we have a tool set here. I don't want you to see the moonshots, but if you were looking, you saw the moonshots. Spoiled the moonshots. Okay, they're not that big a deal. So our goal is to change. Our goal is to, and another way of saying this, what is our problem to which math, code, and AIMA4E are part of the solution. Our goal, right? Problems, goals, questions. They're all different aspects. They're all part of a cube of some sort. Our goal is to change state from outsider non-player to player in the computer control game. And I give what was my citation? Oh yeah, I just cited Retraice stuff that led up to that. With properly applied abstraction, that's discussed on AIMA4E, page 66. See, for example, Re102, page 2 for problem formula. So we can't. Well, just take that for what it's worth. It makes sense if you go follow up and read what I just cited, but I'm not going to explain everything here. Okay, so our state space, players in the computer control game and non-players, or let's say statuses. I'm not sure that's the best way to write that. Initial state, non-player. Goal state, player. Okay, easy enough. Actions. The list of actions available at each state. Are these based on the power phenomena? I've talked about power a bit, the Banzhaf power index, and lots of stuff here, and I've cited some books. So I think that might be, as we get more and more clear on what we mean by actions, or, at the transition model, the action from one state to another, I think it's going to have to do with what we call power when we're not talking about basically a physics or an engineering concept. And then finally a cost function, which helps us make decisions, and an evaluation function or heuristic, and objective function, which is sort of our mission statement, or the more concrete sub goals of the mission statement up here. So that's sort of just formalizing the problem that we're trying to solve with math, code, and AIMA4E. Okay, in 2023. So what are our moonshots? Well, look, this stuff just came up literally yesterday. Like, we were talking about how should we think about this, and where does this have to go? We're not just doing 6 months on AIMA4E, and it's not that we never thought about where it's going to go, but it's like, no, seriously, this is starting to go where it is supposed to go. Where is that again exactly in the 2-year time frame? So what we came up with, so she came up with AI degree in 2023, and I came up with AI doctor in 2024. So what we mean by that is basically, I can't fathom, if you get a 4-year degree from an accredited university, I don't know, what's an accredited university? Accredited, yeah, I guess they're all the ones you care about are accredited. A 4-year degree from a really good one. That's a normal thing to do, and you're not like spending that whole 4 years, even most of it, like working or studying, right? First of all, you have summers in the United States anyway. You have summers off. You usually, it's a huge social bonanza of fun and games going to school, and so it's 4 years is probably a bit more than you need when you're a fully fledged grown up who's done a few things and who knows a few things. So let's see if we can compress that by a factor of 4. Or let's multiply it by 1/4. So let's see if we can get the equivalent of, give ourselves the equivalent of a degree. Now, you don't see a lot of degrees in artificial intelligence. Carnegie Mellon has one, an undergraduate. I was just glancing through this stuff. But everyone else is computer science, which is fine, because if you really look at artificial intelligence, it really is just a natural continuation of computer science, which is a natural continuation of mathematics and technology. These are just, dividing things up like this makes no sense. But that said, we use the term artificial intelligence for a reason, with purpose. So I think there should be more undergraduate degrees in artificial intelligence, and stop underestimating the kids. Don't, the idea that they can't get up to speed on AIMA4E or something like that. I mean, they can. Not necessarily in the ways that you teach them or in the way that they know how to learn, but they can do it. They just need better ways of teaching themselves or being taught. And teaching and being taught and self-teaching are really hard problems. I have total respect for them. Anyway, setting that aside. So let's see if in 2023, again, I don't think I've reached my limits on what I can do. I still feel like there are hours, not hours, but there are 1 or 2 or 3 hours in each day where it's like I could really repurpose this to, work. And I'm not neglecting my family or, our dwelling or anything like that. It's like, this is really just, like I check the New York Times too much or something like that. It's that sort of, like I can do more. Once I reach my limit, then I'll have a better idea of whether this AI degree in 2023 is realistic. But that's what we're going for, which means like Q1 has to correspond to year 1, Q2 year 2, Q3 year 3. Okay, do I sound crazy? I am crazy. And then same thing for AI Doctor. Like the first 6 months of 2024 would correspond to a master's degree. And and then the second 6 months would correspond to a doctorate. Now, any of you people with masters and doctorates and degrees in this stuff are listening to me and thinking, this effing moron thinks that he could do. No, I don't think I could do what you did in 4 or 8 years. What I'm saying is that there's some version of what you've done that can be done in 2 years, Dr. AI. If I may call you that, Doctor AI, there's some version of what it took you 8 years to do. It didn't take you. Sorry, that sounds insulting. What you did according to a program of study, a well-worn program of study that developed in like the Middle Ages, by the way. Like the pace of this stuff and the way it's organized is just, I'm just saying, medieval institutions. That's E.O. Wilson says that's one of our problems, is that we have prehistoric brains, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. Okay, so we're talking about the medieval institutions here. I think we can go a little bit faster. And also, most AI and programming stuff is being strongly influenced by online and independent learning these days because it's moving too fast for the universities, or too fast for the books even. I mean, it's just too fast for everybody. So anyway, that's what we're going to try to do. And it's going to require a lot more than AIMA 4E. AIMA 4E is going to really have to talk. 2 things basically have to happen. AIMA 4E is going to have to really talk to, on the one hand, industry, and the other hand, a university curriculum. Those are the 2 things that are obvious to me. So, like, Hacker News has a job posting thing, and then, of course, there's LinkedIn. And then there's, like, the best universities, Harvard, Stanford, MIT, CMU, Oxford and Cambridge, and U of M, my dear to my heart, University of Michigan. Which is where Larry Page went to school, undergraduate, and many other people. So talk to, not talk to, like consult, be guided by industry and academia. We'll need to do that in 2023 and 2024. And then and the other thing is we need to have a project orientation. You can't get out of any good, serious degree program without having really, perform some feats of intellectual work. And so obviously, I mean, it goes without saying, I guess, but it needs to be squarely in focus because this is 1,000-page, just to take the next 6 months as an example, AIMA 4E is a 1,000-page book, and I am someone who loves to digress and dive deep into things, and on page 300, find yet another book that could just increase my knowledge a little bit more. That is not an economical way to get an AI degree in 2023. You don't have to say economical, that's redundant. That is not a way to get an AI degree in 2023. Okay? I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know what's going to happen here, but it's going to happen. Okay, that's it. That's the end of the moonshots. I don't think I need to elaborate anymore. 33 minutes. We're good. This has been Retraice segment number 102. To conclude 2022. 102 concludes 2022, AI degree in 2023, AI doctor in 2024. Good, right? This is the end of the December to Remember Math and Code event, by the way, officially. Didn't end up doing any more math and code in the last few days. Thinking about it a lot and really tying it up with a bow here, I hope. All right, time to sign off. Go blue. See you tomorrow. 10 p.m. tomorrow. 10 p.m. tomorrow. It's Sunday, right? Yeah, 10 p.m. tomorrow. Retraice 103. All right, signing off.